Good morning, traders. It is Wednesday, February 19th, 9:33 a.m. on the Eastern side, guys. Welcome to another video of Digital Goats Academy. I am your host, Antoine Farrar. And today, this is just one of our live trading sessions. And as you can see, based off the information that we were looking at the previous days, that the market is responding in the way that we want it to. As you can see on my screen, I have US 30 pulled up. US 30 is currently pushing down. Right after the opening bell, the market did continue to push down, but with the 6 o'clock candle still being open on a 4-hour time frame, that's pretty much our direction. Um, that's pretty much our direction for the day. Now, the only thing is will the market decide to retest that around like 12 or 10:30? So we should still continue. The momentum should still carry to the downside. If you look at the change over here on my right-hand side where my watch list is at, you look at the change, we went as low as negative $173 for US 30. I wasn't really paying attention to the NASDAQ or S&P. But on TradeLocker, if that's where you guys trade, yesterday the NASDAQ did drop, and as you guys can see, it retested the area where it broke out of. Now, there was a gap up here. You can't see it because it's on the smaller time frame, but I encourage you guys to annotate these gaps in some form, some way that you can know that that exists, because when the market returns back up there after like testing it, it should blow through that gap. Now it's on a smaller time frame, so obviously we know eventually it'll come and cover that gap. So nothing to worry about, but yesterday it was something to worry about. You know what I'm saying? So this gap is like somewhere up here. It's more visible on your broker than it is, using it on TradingView. But I think I did spot it on TradingView. I just didn't annotate it. So it's like somewhere up here. On TradeLocker with KOT, it was like somewhere up here, you know what I'm saying? Like slightly up there. So you see the market test that area and rejected it. It didn't break it. It didn't actually go into it. It tested that area and rejected it. So if you just turn it to a line chart, makes sense on what we're seeing. You know, we have a higher high and we have a higher low currently here. So as long as the market is trending in this direction down, we should continue to see, bearish momentum. Now, I'm not focused on the NASDAQ. I did trade it a little bit yesterday just because it had the better opportunity compared to US 30. US 30, it'll make a move and then it'll start consolidating. So the NASDAQ was just a better move yesterday. And I ended up getting into US 30, like I think early this morning. But as you guys can see, the change is still negative $160 to negative almost 173. That's where when the opening bell, triggered, that's what the market was currently at, like a negative $173 for US 30. So again, I think everything is saying the same thing. Is just, dependent on each of these currency pairs in their market cycle. So, the NASDAQ is going to respond how the NASDAQ is going to, and S&P. But like I said, I am looking at US 30 to continue pushing down. It's the stronger out of the pair. But the only thing that I really wanted to do is either retest this consolidation point or cover this gap. I'm looking at the cover of the gap first, more so than the consolidation point. But I would like to see it at least test this high if we're continuing bullish. If not, I would at least want it to come as low as possible within this yellow zone that you guys see right here, or orange, whatever color that is. So, once it comes within this zone, we'll kind of have a better idea of what US 30 is trying to do, but we know it needs to cover this equity that it gave out pretty much all of January. So March may be where it actually shows a sign. I mean, it's happening now in February, but March may be the better clarity on what the direction is, as far as like if it's pulling back to these areas or if we're continuing bullish. Like I said, I would like it to clear the structure, because on the daily time frame, this structure doesn't really exist. Like, yeah, I told you guys before, I know you see a candle there, but if you turn it to a line chart on the daily time frame, it has to be on the daily time frame, because you'll see the structure a little bit better. And you'll see that these candles don't exist. Let me clear some of these indicators up so you guys aren't like, man, look at all those lines over there, man. I don't know what's going on, you know? What was I trying to do again? Oh, yeah. It's early in the morning. Bear with me. It's hump day. So, you know, I'm still stuck in last week. I know many of you probably are, right? So you see, I talked about this pretty much since last week. You see, there's no dip right there. I want to see a dip. I don't like seeing this consolidation and that structure, but when I turned it to a candlestick, it's a candle there. So I feel like it's going to clear this imaginary information. I don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Do further research on your own, guys. But that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting for it to clear this, and then we'll kind of figure out what the decision maker will be there. But if I'm looking at an entry, it'll probably be based off this candle, since this was the last area that the market retests before pushing up. So probably around somewhere of this wick, or, I mean, if anything, I would probably say that the market is going to head down to the body of this candle at the very least. So what I'm doing is I'm gathering information to see the possibility of where the market could. So 50% of this candle, if I catch it from wick to wick, even, you know, wick to wick, you know, and the bodies in between, 50% would be right here. But if I just measured the body, the fib, you see my 50% changes. So my 50% is actually where the market actually rejected. So I know it's probably going to cover all this, since this is just, you know, the market ran away from these areas too fast. So I probably want to cover it 100%. And we said 50% is pretty much of this entire like move of wick to wick is at the bottom, or the open of this candle. So this would have been the open of this candle. So at the very least, we should see the market try to come back to 43,000.6, 43,000.5. We should see the market at least try to push down there. And then that's a potential area for buying orders as the market continues to push down. You know what I'm saying? So that'll be my first indication to say, all right, are we looking to buy, or are we looking to push a little bit lower? Because of the momentum, I do think that it might try to cover all of this consolidation move. That just makes better sense to me, since there is support structure down there. But what it might try to do is give us a fake out and not go 100% of this entire move. What it could do is, and again, that'll be followed by like a previous high or a previous low. So you see the change is reducing, but it's still staying negative, you know, $100. So that's stuff that I like to see right there. Like, I want it to remain there. I know the market can fluctuate in between, but to me, negative 100 or positive $100, as long as the market continues to stay there, that's still telling us the direction. Once it starts to lose steam and pushes towards like negative 50, negative 30, that might be a reversal, or just a pullback that the market is trying to do. So just pay attention to that. As you guys can see, like, it's going to give you some fight. It's not going to be clear. There's a lot of data being filtered into the market, especially since the opening bell just opened. What is that? 12 minutes ago. 12 minutes ago, the opening bell just opened. So, you know, we haven't even had all the data filtered into the market, and we'll start seeing that towards like 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock, 10:30 might be what pushes this market down, and then maybe 11 o'clock is where you have your pullback, 12:30. You know, I'm just giving you guys roundabout like times. This is stuff that I've realized myself. It's not, again, it's not as generic as I'm saying that. You have to orientate it according to the currency pair that you're trading and look at what the market is showing you based off these times. But you'll start to see reactions in these zones and stuff. So if I'm looking at it, probably 786. I would like it to touch as far as 786, maybe even hit 88, like 88%, and then close a candle, have the candle close like above 786 or at 786. That'll make me a lot more comfortable to feel like, okay, US 30 is possibly buying. But as we see, man, based off the line structure, give me a second, guys, real quick. That's my that's my food for the morning going on. All right, like I said, as you see, line chart, what are we looking for when we're looking at buy opportunities or sell opportunities? We're looking for valleys and hills. So hills up here, valleys down here. Valleys are support structures and hills are resistance structures, right? So right here, we have a dip, then a push up. But again, remember I told y'all about, like, when the market pushes up from these zones. Now, yes, depending on the currency pair, the momentum could be there where it's like it doesn't need to come back to these zones. But look at this support structure has created. We've already tapped resistance. So what it's looking like is that, hey, man, I at least want to come as far as back here. You know what I'm saying? When you look at where the market could potentially reach us to, it's normally the breakout of a doji. So this was the momentum. This was like the breakout. So the market could either come here or look, like I said, a little bit lower. My anticipation that is if it is going to come down, it's probably going to come as low as possible, which means 786 is probably the area where the market wants to return back to. But let's look at GU. I know I gave out a trade for GU. Let's see what it's doing currently. I think we're still selling. I haven't looked at I haven't looked at my trade like since the opening bell, but I think we're still selling. Let me see. All right, so just like I expected, the market is pulling back, throwing inconsistencies, manipulation within it. So that's perfect right there. I like seeing that. That's a small pullback to retest the area that we broke out of. Now that's on a, what is that, 15-minute time frame? So you obviously want a higher time frame to confirm this, but you're scaling in, you're scaling in to see like what the market is doing based off those smaller time frames. So the reversal or the initial move, you can normally spot it on the smaller time frame, but you need clarification from the higher time frame for it to make sense. So once we have like a close below this consolidation structure, which that's what it had already looked like that to me. It already looked like it was consolidating. I think that was the 4 hour that I was looking at. Yeah. So if you look at this, GU like consolidating, we haven't broke out of this low yet, but more than likely because it created resistance up here, it should want to push down, especially if the dollar is still bullish. It gave us that short pullback on that smaller time frame. So we should see a push down and then, a slight pullback and then continue, which this would be pretty much establishing, especially like when you have consolidation like on such a higher time frame, like 4 hour, and it closes below, normally the momentum is going to carry it at least down to the next support structure, which would be over here, which again, if you look at this is another support structure that the market like created that funny candle. And if you turn it to a higher time frame, again, it's followed by a gap. But if you turn it to a higher time frame, this information doesn't exist. So I think the market is going to try to establish support all the way down here before pushing up, unless GU is completely bullish. But I would like to see like it try to create support back on that weekly time frame to establish, okay, yes, we are supporting on a higher time frame. But this to me doesn't look like enough momentum for the market to actually continue pushing up now, especially since it's rejected these levels that we already looked at prior to that. But you see the market's pulling back, negative. It's only negative 114. Probably going to go back down to like negative $90 and stuff. Like this is stuff that we have to, be prepared for and understand that the market is like, going to pull back based off these time zones. So the US 30 is pulling back, throwing inconsistencies, probably retesting the area where it broke out of. Yep. Yeah, but that's still, that momentum is still to the downside. It created a gap. I didn't even see that. I mean, I wasn't looking on the smaller time frame to identify, but it's like that's why it's important to still follow what the market is doing as the market has opened, for opening bell or switching to new sessions. Because what most people do is that if this thing is pulling back, let's say you got in up here, this is a pretty good position to be in US 30 at without fear of it possibly returning. Now we do see areas that the market could return to, you know what I'm saying? But when you're looking at it and you start seeing like these moves, this is something that, messed me up when I first started trading, is that I didn't understand the pullback. I didn't understand that the market is still testing these areas, throwing manipulation. So hell, if I'm in profit, say I got in right here. Once the market is pulling back here, I think that the market is reversing because I didn't understand about, these gaps and stuff that are presented in the market. Let me actually annotate that because it did cover that gap. That's a good sign that we want to see. You see that it's pushing away from that, but that's not, I annotate that because if the market comes back to that, I know that, okay, well, this is what the market wants to do as far as like, I see that there's a gap. It hasn't pushed away from the gap fully. So we're on the 15-minute time frame. It could push up, 10 o'clock in order to collect this information or collect this equity left over and then blow down the market on the opposite side, especially when you see like moves like this, when you see no information and the candle just looks like how is this momentum carrying it and it only did a shallow pullback? Well, it's trapping people in. What it could possibly do, since we annotated this gap, I don't want it so dark. I want it like, yeah. Since we annotated this gap, which should be followed by some type of support structure, right? So we have support right here. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits this support structure on the 15-minute time frame and pushes this market up for where it broke out of initially, if the momentum isn't still carrying it down. You know what I'm saying? And this is just, again, I'm not saying this to confuse people or make you worried about, what the market may do. This is just awareness, you know what I'm saying? So if it were to come up there, you know what I'm saying? If it were to push all the way back up to this support structure that it broke out of, it would make sense. And you would establish that, okay, what it's most likely trying to do is collect, equity that it gave out at a percentage. So we don't know what percentage the market may try to push back to, but it's just, identifying it if it happens. If it doesn't, cool. You know what I'm saying? If it doesn't come back up here, cool. But if you start seeing it make its way back up here, then obviously, one, I could possibly get in for another position depending on my entry. See what I'm saying? So yeah, everything's pretty clear today. It's Wednesday. It's still early in the year, guys. So like nothing is really going to be clear cut. You make the moves and you take the money knowing that the market could reverse 100%, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? The most important thing is for everybody to collect their money until we get towards like Q3, Q2. Right now in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, yeah, Q3, Q4. So that's what I meant to say. So currently, momentum is pushing down. I was like, okay. Currently the momentum is pushing down what we wanted to see. Is the market going to try to retest these areas? Now with indices, it normally tries to break before it pulls back up to these areas. But again, identify that this may be an area that the market wants to come back to either next week, Friday, like, I don't know, it's the hour time frame. 6 o'clock candle is still open on the 4-hour time frame. Yeah, 7 minutes. So 7 minutes until the close of the 6 a.m. candle. Now, again, with the 6 a.m. candle, you'll probably have a pullback. Remember, we identified this gap right here. So what would make sense like around like 12 or something? That the market pushes all the way back up here to cover that gap and then bring it down on the opposite side. Now, it happened on a very small time frame. So you shouldn't look at it trying to cover this gap like viciously, like all the way up here. It should probably do like 100% of this candle potentially, and then push down. So right here, we probably will start seeing consolidation take place within this market. So with that being said, because it's about to hit like in another hour session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my profit off of US 30 and see if we have an opportunity to jump back in. Yeah, especially since this market is. Now, because GU is a little bit more slower and it really hasn't moved out anywhere, that's another one of my positions. I'm going to just hang tight to that, but I want to see what US 30 is going to do as the open of 10 o'clock is coming. The 10 o'clock candle is coming. So we'll see. What is that? 6 minutes to another 4-hour candle. So again, if it retested 100% of this candle, that would make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? That would actually give me more courage that the market is continuing to push down instead of continuing to push down, and then it creates some support structure that just shoots a bull candle out of nowhere, which I think that we are getting there. But we have to cover this equity given out. I'm positive that it's going to cover at least all this. So I think it's going to blow through the support structure right here. And then, like I said, our indication that we could potentially be buying up is, what was that, on the hour time frame that we were looking on? Or was that the daily? Well, we identified that. Oh, excuse me. I think that might have been a daily when we were looking at that. Yeah, that daily candle over here. So this is where like 43,000.5 is where I'm really looking, or I would say 43,000.2. 43.2 thousand, right? Well, 43,000.2, right? So pretty much in the 43K area is where I'm potentially looking for buys, but we have to see if the market is going to try to continue to push down. So we'll see. Once the open of this 10 o'clock candle comes, like, we'll know, like, is the market actually like continuing to push down or anything like that? I mean, we won't know, but that'll start giving us. So stuff like that, I don't like that, especially with this indicator. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't know if the market is going to try to push its way all the way back up here, but we already identified that because this is an imbalanced candle. So more than likely, what the market will try to do is come as close as possible, if not touch that area. So, we'll see. We'll see. That's not saying that it's going to happen, but us identifying that it could possibly happen, yeah, it puts us in a better position for the market. Last thing that I wanted to touch on, what the dollar is currently doing. So the dollar is pulling back to these levels. It is Wednesday, so Wednesday you do have that manipulation of what the market is trying to collect from Sunday. Where do we break out Sunday? Where's Sunday at? Friday. So here's a gap at the dollar here. There's a gap right there. And you see I have gaps annotated all over here, right? All over. So I know that when the market covers this, it's going to blow through this. Now, I don't know if it's even caring about this gap right here, because technically it covered it a percentage. Like right here, it covered it a percentage, but I like to see 100%. So if the dollar all of a sudden, like 10 a.m., 10:30 pushes, and the dollar just shoots down here, I don't think that the dollar is selling. I think that the dollar is just clearing up this gap, this equity that it left over in order to push the market up. So that would probably pull back US 30, NASDAQ, things like that. The last thing is, I do still believe that Bitcoin is selling. I don't think that Bitcoin is bullish. Matter of fact, it tests the areas where I was expecting it to buy and actually touch the resistance again. So yeah, I think Bitcoin is about to sell off. Just to pull back to these areas to give better buying options. And I mean, call me crazy, but we could get back to those levels that I was talking about last year or in 2023, where I expected Bitcoin to push down to 40K, there's still a lot of information. I don't know. I know that we at least need to come back to this breakout area of 74K. But again, the market could decide to push lower than that and then push the market up from there. So we'll see. Bitcoin's been playing to what I've identified. Like, I was always bullish on Bitcoin, but I just wanted to see a better clarification for like a potential pullback, which I do see that may happen this year. This year we'll probably get our pullback, especially how aggressive the market's pushed up since Trump got in office and his connections to Elon Musk. Like, that just to me screams imbalance. That's just gonna punch people in the face, and we're gonna be back at that area where people are like, I don't believe in crypto and stuff like that. Right now it looks good because we're up a lot. You know what I'm saying? So once we identify, are we retesting this previous high to continue up, or are we going to push down a little bit lower to collect any equity that we left behind? I would like to see it at least come back to this consolidation point right here, which again is at 40K. So I could see that without it being considered like a major loss, in order to give better buy options for companies and other investors. But understand, like, the market makes money in both directions and make money in both directions off of us. So if people were buying Bitcoin up here, the market is probably going to sweep people by going as low as it possibly could, forcing people out their position. When people start seeing when traders and investors start seeing like a lot of red on their portfolios, and especially with I would say under 5 years worth of experience, they tend to get out those positions because it look like they're about to lose everything. But as we know, as investors, you don't really lose an investment, especially like within the stock market, unless it delists, go to zero, or you close it. You know what I'm saying? So hardly any of these markets go to zero unless like they're about to delist or the company is just doing bad. So again, that comes into doing your own research so you guys can balance your portfolios a little bit better. But that's all I got for today. It's 10 a.m., so I'm going to get back to my own personal trading, guys. I hope y'all have a successful trading day. As always, hit that like button, comment on anything that you guys have learned or anything that I need to improve on. And always, either before or after, hit that subscribe button, guys. That definitely helps my channel grow and affords me more opportunities to do things that people are requesting, or things that, require a little bit more equity, guys. So appreciate everybody that shows up in return, as always, guys. So I'll see you Thursday. YouTube, I'll see you guys probably Friday, but for my Discord community, you guys know I'll be on tomorrow, Thursday, early in the morning. And I'm looking forward to actually talking about the market review this week. So for our weekly review, I'll probably will do a YouTube video instead of just having it on my community. But you guys will know once you revisit the channel. So appreciate it as always, guys. This is Antoine Farrar, Digital Goats Academy, signing out. See you guys Thursday.